Today we're taking a look at these college football matches, which are happening on Friday, December 30th, 2022, and giving you our parlay picks, match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes. Before we dive into our video, don't forget to subscribe and push that notification bell to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos. Also, check out our perks and join the High Stakes membership. Joining the High Stakes membership is easy, is cheap, but it will help a lot in the growth process of this channel. Plus check out our Patreon in the link down below if you want access for our premium picks. Our Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. Multiple plans are available for each and every one of you. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting predictions that ends up costing you a lot of time and money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks. One more thing before we start, make sure to watch our videos till the end so you don't miss any of our picks. Maryland Terrapins vs North Carolina State Wolfpack. The Maryland Terrapins head into this matchup 7-5 this season. In their last game, the Terrapins faced the Rutgers Scarlet Knights and went home with a win by a final score of 37-0. Taulia Tagovailoa went 25-37 with 342 yards passing and 1 touchdown. He had a QB rating of 154.1 and walked away from the contest without throwing a pick. Roman Hemi led the offense in rushing for the Terrapins with 19 carries for 70 yards, 3.7 yards per attempt. At the end of the game, they had 88 plays which converted into 513 yards. The Maryland Terrapins rushed the ball a total of 43 times and compiled 134 yards, which came out to an average of 3.1 yards per tote. When it came to stopping the run, the Terrapins gave up 63 yards on 27 attempts, which calculates to 2.3 yards per run allowed. I have more faith in the younger Tagovailoa than whichever QB that North Carolina State trots out. The two teams are somewhat evenly matched, and I have more faith that the Maryland offense will be able to prevail with a winning drive as opposed to North Carolina State's offense. Hemi averaged 5.6 yards per carry this season, and if he can provide similar rushes on Friday, Maryland can control the tempo of the game and limit North Carolina State significantly. In addition, North Carolina State is dealing with some injuries to some impactful players besides the QBs. In a battle of great offense versus great defense, I am taking the great offense in this case. Maryland is 5-1 ATS in their last 6 following an ATS win and 6-1 ATS in their last 7 against non-conference opponents. North Carolina State is 1-4 ATS in their last 5 following a straight-up win and 2-7 ATS in their last 9 overall. Our first pick is Maryland plus 1 points. Maryland gave up 8 completions on 22 tries for 72 yards and a completion rate of 36.4%. The Terrapins currently have 4,878 total yards this year. When it comes to getting in the end zone, Maryland has totaled 20 touchdowns via the pass and 23 touchdowns via the ground. They have turned the football over 13 different times. Maryland has amassed 246 first downs, and they have been flagged for 94 infractions for 864 yards. Offensively, they're averaging 146.8 yards on the ground, which ranks them 70th in the nation. In terms of putting the ball in the end zone, the Maryland Terrapins have an average of 29.2 points per contest. When it comes to passing yards, the Terrapins are giving up 2,634 yards, which has them ranked 55th in college football. They have conceded 219.5 yards per game via the pass and allowed a completion percentage of 58.5%. For the year, they have allowed 362.2 yards per contest, which has them ranked 50th in the nation. They have conceded 17 touchdowns via the pass, in addition to 16 touchdowns pounding the rock. They are giving up 3.9 yards per running attempt and 142.7 rushing yards per game for the season. Overall, they have given up 1,712 rushing yards through 12 outings. The Terrapins are sitting in 48th in the country concerning team defense, allowing 24.1 points per contest. I expect both offenses to come out firing despite the limitations North Carolina State has. Even with their injuries to the most important position on the offense, North Carolina State still managed to average over 25 points per game. Combined with Maryland's potent offense averaging more than 29 points per game, I have confidence that these teams can reach 46 points in this contest. Even if North Carolina State holds Maryland to their average on defense of 19 points, North Carolina State would only have to score 27 to reach the over. Not only is that feasible for North Carolina State, but I expect Maryland to score more than 19 points in this contest. North Carolina State is 7-1 on the over in their last 8 bowl games and 8-1 in their last 9 December games. Maryland is 6-0 on the over in their last 6 games played on a neutral site and 5-1 in their last 6 bowl games. Our second pick is over 46. When it comes to how much they score, the Wolfpack are ranking 85th in college football, averaging 25.3 ppg. For the season so far, the Wolfpack have thrown for a total of 2,670 passing yards, as well as an average of 222.5 throwing yards per outing, ranking them 77th in Division I. The North Carolina State Wolfpack average 343.5 yards per contest, which ranks them 103rd in the nation. The North Carolina State offense has compiled 712 yards of penalties on 89 infractions, which is good for 17th in the nation in terms of making mistakes. North Carolina State has given up a total of 1,234 yards rushing, 102.8 yards per game, as well as 13 touchdowns via the rush this season. They have conceded 14 touchdowns through the air and 222.9 yards per game, which has them in 65th in D1. The Wolfpack defense has been on the field for 772 plays, which has them sitting 24th in Division I. The Wolfpack are conceding 19.4 ppg, which has them ranked 14th in D1. This year, they have given up 233 total points. Our third pick is the Wolfpack over 19.5 points. On the defensive side of the ball, the Wolfpack surrender an average of 325.7 yards per game, with 222.9 yards through the air and 102.8 on the ground. They also limited their opponents to an average of only 19.4 points per game, good for 15th in the country. Drake Thomas was the leading tackler on the year with 90 total tackles and 44 solo tackles. Thomas also led the team in sacks with 6.5, while Layden White had the most passes defended this year for North Carolina State with 8. White also led the way for the secondary with 4 picks and the lone defensive touchdown. The Wolfpack have been dealing with injuries since the season started and yet have prevailed quite well. 3 players have been ruled out for the season since early November, including starting QB Devin Leary. However, MJ Morris and Demi Sumo-Karngbae are questionable to play on Friday with undisclosed injuries. North Carolina State is looking to win their first bowl game since 2017 after losing in the Gator Bowl twice in 2018 and 2021. A win here would legitimize the ranking given to the Wolfpack and provide a boost of hope that they can continue on their upward trajectory. They were able to take down their rival in UNC in the final game of the regular season in overtime by a score of 30-27. Ben Finley completed 27 40th passes for 271 yards and a couple of touchdowns in the effort. Devin Carter had a day for himself, securing 6 catches for 130 yards and a score to propel the Wolfpack over UNC. It's an incredibly talented group of young men. Head coach Dave Doran told the media. North Carolina State has had ill fortune at the quarterback position this season, as their top 2 options succumbed to injuries during the season. Devin Leary had the most reps at QB this season before tearing a pectoral in October. MJ Morris and Ben Finley have taken up the slack, but Morris is questionable for Friday's game against Maryland. Their rushing attack is more consistent with Jordan Houston handling the majority of the carries for 530 yards and 0 touchdowns. Demi Sumo-Karngbae is the goal line back with a team-high 3 rushing touchdowns on the year. Thayer Thomas is the leading receiver for the Wolfpack, catching 53 balls for 588 yards and 4 touchdowns. As a team, North Carolina State has averaged 343.5 yards per game, with 222.5 yards passing and 121.0 yards rushing. Their 25.3 points per game is solid, especially in comparison to their defense. Our fourth pick North Carolina State under 222.5 yards passing.